Hello, lovely beings. I'm JJ Rose, and I want to talk about dreams, which I feel is rather fitting, being that I was woken up very early this morning with a pretty gnarly dream. Now, I call these dreams, but dreams are not always dreams. So, this is why I wanted to discuss the different types of experiences we have while we're sleeping. What is an actual dream versus what is you tapping into another level of yourself, another life, and everything in between. Because again, as we exist here in our human bodies right now that you're listening through, we also exist on 7 levels below and 77 levels above. So, that being said, let me delve into what I consider an actual dream and then what I call a dream, but really is something else. Okay, basic dream. A basic dream is when you wake up and it's something that you're experiencing or you are watching through the lens of yourself as who you are when you wake up, your human body, right? This level right here. Usually they're kind of fractured, they're all over the place. There's usually a lot of symbology. Sometimes there's people that you know that are in them. For myself, there's a lot of people I have no clue who they are that are in them. But occasionally I will have a dream with people I actually know. Now, how I know these are actual dreams is because I wake up and I don't have the sense that it really happened. It's more so, it's figurative, right? So it's giving me a message either of something I'm working on, something I'm working through, or a heads up as to something maybe I've gone through with the person that I know who's in the dream that we need to work on, or, kind of your subconscious doing like a download dump and just coming out in all these kooky, crazy ways. Which is awesome because then you can do your dream interpretation. Now, I know it's really fun to go on, and I do this often myself when I dream of certain things, maybe that I don't feel have any significance to me. I sometimes will look them up, like I just Google, dream about whatever, and kind of see what comes up in regards to the meaning. Now, obviously, there are a lot of dream dictionaries out there. So, depending on which one you look at, the same thing can have multiple different meanings depending on where you're getting your information from. Typically, what I like to do is I'll write down the dream or the experience, and then the things that stand out or stick out the most to me, or that I felt had the most emotional impact in the dream, or that the dream was focusing on, or even that was the weirdest part of the dream. I usually look inside and try to ask myself, what does that mean to me? So, for instance, a couple days ago, I had a dream that a dear friend of mine was picking up broken glass all over the place. And there were like 5 different places we were in this dream. We kept jumping around, and everywhere we were, this poor guy is picking up pieces of broken glass. It was broken windows, broken cups, broken this, broken that. And, if I were to look that up in a dream dictionary, I'm sure I would get, 18 different thoughts on what broken glass means. But to me personally, broken glass, especially when it happens that much, usually signifies the potential of a dark entity coming around or lurking around. So for me, in looking at that dream about this person and tuning into them, and then kind of checking in, whenever I have a dream about someone I know, I usually try to tell them if it's significant enough or I feel like sharing. And when I talked to them, it was very evident that was something they were actually dealing with in their life at the time. So to me, a true dream is something that you wake up and you know it was a dream. Again, it's usually like part instinctual, i.e., part, your brain picking up on cues of things about people or yourself that you're working through, as well as your subconscious kind of giving you a heads up as to what it is that you either need to work on, need to pay attention to, or something you're working through to maybe help you get a breakthrough, especially if it's something that you've been working on for a while. Okay, now I move on to the things that I call dreams but aren't dreams. Now, these are experiences when you wake up, you feel like you lived that. It is extremely different than what a normal dream is, right? A normal dream, that didn't happen. It's just kind of like this, your brain kind of downloading things about your day or something you saw and randomly putting it in, your subconscious doing like a little dump. This is totally different. This is something when you wake up, you're sometimes a little bit even confused as to who you are, where you are. You are in the experience either the observer or a participant. And as the observer or as the participant in this, you do not necessarily feel like who you are in your human body when you wake up. So for instance, this morning I was woken up by one of these. And honestly, I journaled it. I really hope that that does not happen. I have a feeling it is happening, but somewhere else. In this non-dream experience, I was not who I am in my human body. I was a male, and I was a participant in one portion, and then it switched to a completely different time. Almost like a different world. It looked Earth-ish, but it wasn't. And there was futuristic stuff that, I don't even think we have or will, to be honest. And all these things were happening. And then it switched over to a whole other timeline where I then was a completely different male and was interacting with an individual from ancient times, which again, very weird, right? So all my life I've gotten these. Maybe I should have my mom on someday because that would be a crack up. But when I was younger, I would wake up and I would tell my mom about these so-called dreams, because that was the only word I knew how to call them. And these, I would start telling her first thing when we woke up, and I would continue telling her the entire time we were getting ready, all the way until she would drop me off at school. And when she would drop me off, she was hoping I was done, and I was still not. And I said, I'll tell you the rest when I get off school. And, it would take me like 2-3 hours to tell her everything that happened. So at one point she was talking with my dad, and she was just like, good Lord, like these epic Spielberg movies that she's having are, like, what is this all about? Does she have a great imagination, or like what's going on? And my dad told her, no, she's really there living that. She is tuned in to another part of herself that is working on a different level. And she is actually experiencing it, seeing it, going through it, and bringing the information back. And that's the difference between a dream and a higher level experience. And sometimes it's a lower level experience, depending on what you are experiencing. But it is another level of yourself and almost another life of what you are doing on that other level, on that other plane. I have had some of these where I am not even a human. I am nothing that I even recognize. I have tried to look up what I am, and I'm not able to find anything, online, even resembling what I am. Sometimes I'm in an actual body form, sometimes I am just an energetic form. So again, these are windows into what you are doing in other levels. Now, there are times when you'll have these experiences, because again, they're not dreams, they're experiences, and they almost feel like a memory. And I haven't had too many of these because mine are more actively what's going on in other times and places. But a few times I've gotten these where it wakes up when I wake up. When I wake up, I feel almost like I was remembering another life. And those are really, really special because I know a lot of people like to talk about past life regressions and what did I do in a past life, etc. But these are really special because these are your higher self giving you a window into something you lived through or experienced in a past life that maybe somehow is bleeding through to this life, which, yes, there are things from past life that can carry over. And oftentimes, this is a gift given to you so that you can understand why whatever particular issue you're trying to work on or work through, or that you're knee deep in and you're just kind of wondering, why am I going through this for the 80,000th time? And this makes no sense. And you'll be given this intense vision of what you went through in a past life. And that's helpful because that allows you to understand where its origin story came from and to work on it and work through it. Because it wouldn't carry over to this life unless it's something that you need to work on. And maybe it wasn't wrapped up in the previous life. And so therefore you're trying to do it over again differently in this life and, change the outcome and grow and learn from it, whatever you weren't able to achieve in the past life. So those are really exciting. Again, for me, they don't happen often, but they do. They do happen. And I have a feeling there's some of you out there that are getting these a lot. And a lot of it is to help you with some of your shadow work that you're doing. And by shadow work, I mean working on those parts of yourself that you need growth on. Maybe they were a challenge, personality challenge, something, an emotional challenge, or a way of being that you've been really, really trying to grow and work on. And that little flash comes as a reminder to you to let you know, hey, this is what you went through. Maybe this can give you some insight to what you're going through currently and help you really grow and develop from it. Now, again, in all of these experiences, if it's super duper confusing, journal, journal, journal. So whether it's a dream, journal it. If it's one of those experiences where you're, tuning into another part of yourself on a different level or a different life that's currently happening, journal it. If it is a past life flashback, journal it. And all of these can happen whether you are like asleep for the night or day, whenever you sleep, or even during naps. For whatever reason, sometimes I don't nap often, but sometimes when I do, these really intense things come through. And it's such a gift because, you're not asleep for very long. It's a nap. And when you wake up, you're really fresh and it's fresh in your mind. Journal it. I physically use pen and paper for mine, but occasionally when I get these quote unquote precog dreams, meaning dreams that are kind of showing me what's to come, I will email them to myself. And I know it sounds funny and funky, but if it feels like a premonition dream, right? Like if it feels like you're you and you're seeing something that is to come, whether it's local to you or far away or just going to happen in the world, and you wake up and you have that feeling like, oh, that's foreboding. That's telling me something that's going to be coming down the pike. Email it to yourself. The reason why I started doing that is because, if I try telling someone later, oh my God, I dreamt about that a month ago happening, or a week ago, or a couple days ago, I don't want someone saying, oh yeah, how easy is it for you to write something down and then backdate it, right? Whereas with an email to myself, it's time stamped and I can show clearly, hey, I emailed myself, here's the timestamp. I'm not making it up. Not that people disbelieve me, but, just in case. And a lot of this too is because sometimes, I type really fast. Sometimes it's just easier to type it out, right? Versus handwrite it. Um, Handwriting, especially first thing in the morning, not everyone's like super cognitive when they wake up. And maybe writing something out would be a little bit rough. Now, if writing it out or emailing yourself is the only way to go for you and you're not super lucid first thing in the morning, then I suggest writing down like the main bullet points. I actually have a friend, she does not wake up very quickly at all, but when she has one of these dreams, experiences, or past life remembrances, she will message me kind of the bullet points and say, hey, when I get some coffee and in an hour or two when I can think clearly, I'll, actually write this out more, but here's like the bullet points of it. And it helps her to not forget like the main part of what she's trying to convey. Because just like you, there are times when I have these, I wake up and for whatever reason I don't journal it, and then an hour later it's completely gone. Now, the other reason I mentioned journaling is because this can help you with your self growth as well. If you, dollar store where it doesn't have to be fancy, right? A piece of paper, dollar store, back of something, whatever it is. But if you're able to journal when you're doing work on yourself, you can actually look back at dreams in your past. And it might give you a little bit of a window into what you were working on at that time as things progress. And or it can help you kind of understand, wow, I've been having these experiences, or, I had this dream experience or a dream, months ago, and here it is now, months later, and it's coming to fruition. All right, let's move on to the next part of what happens while we're sleeping. So obviously your physical body is resting, which is why I recommend on the personal spiritual protection, I recommend putting a plate of salt under your bed. Salt helps absorb negativity, and it also helps your body relax while you're sleeping so that you can kind of dump all of that energy and nonsense from the day before, wake up refreshed and feeling anew, and energetically just getting rid of some stuff during the night, because that's a lot of what actual dreams are, right? They're kind of a purging of your day, week, subconscious things that are going on that are letting you know this is what's happening, or even in a way releasing it. So the plate of salt, honestly, I know I'm harping on it a lot, but just try it, please. If you try it for a couple weeks and it does absolutely nothing, fine, but please give it a try. All right, so when our bodies are sleeping and we are quote unquote physically vulnerable, right? That's when things go bump in the night, or some people will wake up and see shadow people or shadow figures, or sleep paralysis, which is a fancy term for basically having an encounter with a spirit that scares you frozen. There actual is sleep paralysis where the body's not awake, the mind is, but it really is kind of the same feeling as being just terrified because you're seeing something and you're not able to move because you are so scared. There is a difference between the two. One, you very much know it is an encounter with an entity, good, bad, and different. And it is frightening, usually because you thought you were alone and then you wake up and there's somebody there. An actual sleep paralysis, which is caused by different factors, is a little bit different. It still feels kind of terrifying, but it just, it's different. Not everything is spiritual. If you're having this a lot, definitely go to a doctor, get checked out. Just make sure that everything's on the up and up. But if you are spiritual and you are able to write down after these encounters what it is that you're seeing, if it's something different or the same thing, etc., that's some work that you might want to do. Make sure that you're protecting yourself. Make sure you're protecting your space, your home, your bedroom, where you're sleeping, whatever that place may be. The salt underneath helps, but you got to do your part too and make sure that you're going to sleep and being vulnerable in a safe space. So I know there's a lot of talk about people being woken up at different times during the night, and sometimes there's no sleep paralysis. You're just woken up and you're not able to go back to sleep, and it feels weird. Sometimes it's a good feeling, like, wow, I am really bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 4 a.m. for absolutely no reason. And there's other times when, for me personally, I'll get woken up at like 3:30 or 3:33. And that to me is a warning, because that's usually the time of the wee hours of the morning that darkness is very pervasive, and it's making a mockery of the Trinity, and it tends to do attacks. I personally have had some very weird experiences at that time of morning. When I'm woken up at that time, I do a personal check, I do a personal clear, I clear my house, and then I really listen and pay attention. Is this a warning for me personally? Is this a warning that something's trying to come after me? Or is this a warning for maybe my town, my, area, my state, my country, the world? And usually I'll be able to get some hits. So same thing with you. Start asking yourself, if you're getting woken up at 3:33, for instance, why am I awake? What am I being alerted to? Now, if it's other times and they're not quote unquote angel numbers, which I get it, the 222, 333, 444, 555, etc. People call those angel numbers. You can look up, and if it makes sense, what you're able to find online as to when you're woken up and that feeling that you get when you're waking up, then go with it, right? I truly believe spirit isn't going to lead you to something unless it's going to make some semblance of sense. And sometimes the semblance of sense is, that doesn't resonate with me, it's this. I.e., everyone else is saying, if I see 111, it means this, but to me, this is the sense that I got. And go with that. Trust your gut. That is your relationship with spirit. Your spirit guides are always talking to you, and your higher selves are working with you as well to make sure that you're getting the information. So if it doesn't resonate, don't go with it. Go with what your gut says. Cannot stress that enough. Most of you out there already have your abilities. You already have the knowledge within you. You just need to remember and start trusting yourselves. Now, when you are putting your hand to the plow and you're doing heavy spiritual work, whether you know it or not, there are a lot of you that are doing a lot of heavy spiritual work and you don't fully realize it. And I am going to do an episode on that, of different ways that's done. But to keep this kind of dream and sleep related, when you're woken up at 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever time in the morning that isn't your normal time, there's no physical reason something woke you up. Like a dog didn't bark, the trash man didn't make a whole bunch of noise, sunlight isn't streaming in and piercing your eyeballs, that kind of thing. Like nothing physically woke you up, you just are awake. That can be your spirit guides, higher self, spirit itself, helping you to have some early morning time maybe to yourself, or maybe for you to meditate so that you can try and go back to sleep, depending on how many hours left you have. And there are other times when it's just waking you up because your consciousness needs to be awake in order to do whatever it is. And sometimes you physically are just going to be sitting on your couch with a cup of coffee wondering, why am I awake right now? And you're zoning out. You're not doing anything productive that you think. But on some other level, you are giving energy or working on something. A lot of times it happens to me and I have zero clue why I'm awake and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm a pretty productive person, so I usually try to make the best of it. So for me, I'll start journaling, I'll try meditating, try writing down what I'm getting, or, trying to do something productive, clean my house, I don't know. Anything that I can do since I'm woken up, I have the energy, and I'm going to try and make the best of it. All right. Last reason why you can sometimes be woken up and it feels like there is no reason for it whatsoever, and you don't feel like you're working on anything energetically, but you are awake and you are extremely alert. This, I have found for me, can happen when there's going to be an earthquake or a major earth change, or something that is going to happen in the world at some point that is, that requires all hands on deck. And again, this is stuff you might be working on energetically and you don't even know it, but it is happening. So if you get one of those things, again, good time to start journaling. I'm awake, I'm alert, I have no absolute clue why I'm awake and so alert, but I am on point. And then start asking, and whether it's you meditate, you go into prayer, or just within yourself and take a couple minutes and just sit with it and say, okay, whatever it is that I'm being used for, or my energy is working on, or a different level of myself is, thank you and let me do my best. So I think I've covered all the nighttime things or sleeping things. Again, if you guys have any questions, email me. Questions are free. I don't mind anyone emailing me. If it's something that I can help you with by just pointing you in the right direction, I'm 1,000% going to do that. I really like to teach and have you guys try to do it for yourselves first. If it's a big old job and I need to be involved, then obviously we can discuss that. But for the most part, I'm trying to make these audios to give you guys the information and just help you all remember this stuff. Because again, we all know it. It's just a matter of remembering it. May you have an awesome day. May your sleep be restful and peaceful, and all of you grow. Thank you.